Erotic agency is like any, it's like agency in other aspect of life, but specifically, if I want to define it, is our capacity to feel and to identify and to choose our own desire, based on self-trust rather than from a place of fear or pressure or reactivity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so that basically is my definition of erotic agency. It's not about being more sexual or being more adventurous or more confident on the outside. It's about this sense of internal integrity in relation to eroticism and sexuality. So it could be in real life, it could look like, sensing a contraction before you say yes to
Mm.
something, to an intimate act, for example, or to a relationship, to a connection, to an offer of connection, for example. Or it may be realizing halfway through an interaction that something no longer feels right, and being able to having the capacity to name that for yourself, that change, that shift, without collapsing into blame or self-blame. So these are some manifestations of erotic agency in life. And if I wanted to give examples of how it sounds like in the heads, so the thought patterns that go with it, it could be, for example, I'm choosing to stay in this connection because it feels nourishing, because it feels fulfilling, not because I'm afraid of loss or I'm afraid to leave the situation. Or I trust the no that I feel in my body. That's an important one.
Mm.
Or another one is that I can stay curious about this relational pattern that's happening in this relationship without judging myself or again collapsing into self-blame.
The way that you talked about these tools and techniques, or these ways to approach when you're talking about the parenting, and now here again about erotic agency, there's a central theme here, which is slow it down. In a world that has no value for slowness, that must be the most difficult first step for most of your clients, for all of us, right? So do you have any skills that you personally have developed around how to slow in the moment? Like, do you have tips or techniques, or is it a learned experience? Is it just living in that erotic agency for long enough that you don't get pulled out of it? Or how do you slow down enough to actually execute on your erotic agency?
Hmm. Yeah, I love that question. One thing I want to clarify is that slowing down doesn't necessarily mean, being less productive, because I think that's something that comes
That's
to
the fear,
mind for
right? I've got
most
things
people.
to do.
Yes, I've got a lot to do, or I become lazy if I slow down. Yeah, this is about micro moments of pausing before a decision. This is about micro moments of being intentional about engaging, for example, with social media or moving to the next task. You don't have to slow down. For example, my speech is generally slower compared to some other people. You don't have to be like me. You can be yourself. You can be full of life and lots of energy and talk very fast. So you don't need to be a different person. But this means pausing, even for a moment, and doing things intentionally rather than reactively. So knowing what I'm doing right now, it makes sense to me, and I'm choosing to do this rather than just because I've been told, or just because everyone's doing it, or just because, well, I don't know why I'm doing it.